The woven wheel stitch is one of my favorite stitches. It looks complicated, but is actually very simple. Here I did really small roses. And in this design, I created a word by stitching hundreds of roses. Start at the outside of the circle. Stitch your first stitch to the middle, so you created the first of 5 lines. Now stitch the next 4 lines the same way. The odd number of the lines is extremely important, otherwise the weave effect won't work. When you're done with the lines, bring your needle back to the front. Now slide your needle over the first line and under the following line. Then over the next one and under the following one. Always alternating. Under, over, under, over. If your thread runs out before you finish the rows, don't worry. Simply stitch back to the back and start your new thread directly where the old one ended. Once your row is completely finished, simply stitch back to the back. With the French knot stitch, you can create small knots, like the name says. I think they always look very cute and give elements a cool 3D look. You can use them to fill gaps or to create cute accents. To do a French knot, make your first stitch from the back to the front. Hold your thread down and place your needle horizontally above the first stitch. Wrap your floss from the bottom to the top around the needle. Hold the floss tightly with your other hand to prevent it from slipping off the needle. Now, place the needle very close to the first stitch and go back to the back. Do this very slowly and make sure to hold the floss tightly with your other hand while pulling, because if you let the thread go loose, it will knot up. With the French knot stitch, the more wraps around the needle, the larger the knot will be. For the next knots, I will show you how thick the knots will become with 2, 3 or 4 wraps. The satin stitch is basically just a stitch where you place many rows of thread next to each other. This stitch is suitable, for example, for filling big or small blossoms, as you can see here, or also to fill in bigger spaces like in this design. We start here with this rectangle. For larger areas, it is advisable to draw guidelines. You can use them as a reference so that your individual rows remain straight. Make the first stitch at the top left. Now make the second stitch back to the back on the opposite side. Go back to the other side and place your third stitch very close to your first stitch. Then make the fourth stitch again on the opposite side. Follow this stitch pattern until you reach the end of your element. Make sure to do it always from the same side. By the way, for elements that have unequal lengths opposite sides, such as a blossom, you may vary the satin stitch a bit. Watch me doing a blossom here. The whip backstitch is so to say an upgrade of the regular backstitch. This stitch is great for outlines and curved lines as it always looks very smooth and clean. Firstly, you make the backstitch as you learned before. Now I stitch very close to the end of the line. Now I just wrap the backstitch with this floss. To do this, you push the needle under each stitch. Make sure you always go under the stitch from the same side. In this case, I went from the top to bottom each time. You can clearly see the difference. The right part is now very even due to the wrapping. The left part, on the other hand, looks rather uneven or segmented. This stitch is also great to make your calligraphy look perfect, as you can see with this example. The backstitch is one of the most common and simplest embroidery stitches. It is perfect for outlining and fonts. To make a backstitch, bring your needle from the front to the back. Then stitch back toward the back side with a distance of 5 mm to the stitch before. The next stitch back to the front is made with the same distance as the 2 previous stitches. Now stitch very close or directly into the second to last hole. It is important that you don't leave any gaps between the stitches. Repeat the pattern until the end of your line. You can make the stitches shorter or longer, but it's important to maintain a consistent spacing. This way you get a neat looking line. For the calligraphy font here, for example, I used only 2 strands and really short stitches. That way it's easier to navigate the curves. By the way, the line may still look slightly segmented. If you don't like that optic, check out the video for the whipped backstitch. It shows how to make the line really smooth.